Ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of Infinite Podcast. Today we're slicing through the jargon on commodities as safe havens during economic mayhem. Now, Simon, folks often flock to gold and silver like they're Noah's Ark whenever the economy hits choppy waters. Yet historical data is a roller coaster. It's not always a smooth sail. Current trends are putting a shiny spotlight on these metals for sure.
Gold and silver, the safe haven duo. Man, I love how we chill at home watching TV, and yet folks out there are playing musical chairs with these shiny chunks during every economic hiccup. It's kind of bonkers if you ask me. But hey, why look for smooth sailing when you can ride the waves of a glorified seesaw, right?
Well, here's the twist, Simon. Sure, gold's glittery and all, but it's not always your best lifeboat. Let's not forget, after the '08 crash, gold shot up, but by 2015, less shiny, pal. Like folks thought it was foolproof, yet there it dropped. Commodities, they're wild cards. They hedge against inflation sometimes, but they're not your comfy blanket. It's more like strapping into a rocket sometimes, knowing well, you can't control where it's headed.
Wait just a minute though, Joe. I gotta push back on that one. So yeah, gold took a nosedive in 2015, but look at the big picture, dude. Over decades, it's consistently held its weight, pun intended, against inflation. It's not just about the short game. When currencies go belly up, people don't run to cash. They go for tangible stuff. Something you can hold on to. Sure, gold isn't the end-all be-all, but dismissing it? I wouldn't toss out that life jacket just yet.
You see, I knew a guy, total maverick in investments. He was all about that tangible asset life, avoiding stocks like a sidewalk crack. So during the dot-com bubble, while everyone faces planting onto concrete, his obsession with metals suddenly looked genius. Kind of like when we go paintballing, you remember? Everybody rushing, no strategy, and there's that one person hunkered down, calm as a clam. That was him with his gold, all right? Cool as a cucumber amidst chaos. Just goes to show, sometimes zigging when others zag, especially over the long haul, it can pan out pretty well. Or in his case, pretty golden.
Oh man, Joe, your paintball strategy guy's onto something there. Real talk, between 2008 and 2012, gold nearly tripled in value because people were avoiding stocks like I avoid vegetables. Commodities, they've got this rep, right? As panic room assets during downturns, they're physical. You can't print more like money. Limited supply with timeless appeal, say like classic old-school vinyl records or grandma's home-cooked meals. So the dude was clever, piling into them when tech stocks were breeding billionaires, then busting like piñatas at a kid's party. It's not just about being different. It's about knowing historically gold says, I got you, when dollars and stocks give you cold feet.
Simon, man, you're hitting that nail so square on its head. And it's like, when you think about it, gold isn't just some chunk in a vault. It's security, a warm blanket when the world's raining uncertainty. Diving into those commodities during chaos feels reassuring, Like when we're at that dive bar sipping something familiar, there's comfort in knowing what you're going to get. It feels safe, stable. So yeah, I get it, really do. It's why our paintball genius and your grandma's meals resonate. Familiarity amidst unpredictability is priceless.
Hang on there, Joe. Let's pump the brakes a tad on this nostalgia train. Sure, gold's cozy and all, but it's not always the knight in shining armor we make it out to be. Here's the rub. Like, if you dump all your eggs, golden or not, into one basket, what happens when the market bounces back? Stocks and real estate might just blast past our shiny friend. And let's be real for a sec. It feels safe, right? But it doesn't pay dividends or interest. You're basically hoarding shiny rocks, hoping there'll be shinier rocks tomorrow. I'm all for diversity in investments, sprinkle some sparkle here and there. But overcommitting to one asset, that's like saying pizza is the only food that exists. Fantastic, but potentially stomach churning if there's too much of it,
Well, Simon, that's right, man. It's like this. You need something in your pocket for every round in the fight, right? Gold is that one good punch, but it ain't going to win the match by itself. Diversifying is key. It's combat strategy 101. You can't just spam that haymaker and hope for a knockout every time. Got to mix it up with jabs, crosses, hooks, leg kicks. It's about having a full arsenal. So while gold's good to have in your corner, you still need stocks, bonds, maybe some real estate action to keep you on your feet, constantly bobbing and weaving. That's the winning combo right there.
Right, check this out. So there I was, a few years back, dabbling in a little bit of everything. Stocks, some shiny trinkets, gold and whatnot. Even got myself a small patch of land for kicks. One time, true story, my buddy's like, dude, you gotta go all in on tech stocks. It's the future. But, something felt off. So sticking to my weird mix, people thought I looked like I was baking a cake with like sardines and chocolate. Doesn't sound yummy, right? Anyway, boom, market dipped, tempers flared. But guess who ended up having his sardine chocolate cake and eating it too? This guy. Because when tech took a nosedive, not everything in my pocket crumbled. A bit here went down, sure, but the bit there stayed put. And that's sort of, the magic of mixing it up. Gives you the chance to still stand when others might take a tumble. Keeps things interesting, unpredictable, but in a good way, like Jackson Pollock throwing paint on a canvas, random yet somehow kind of perfect.
Ha, sardine chocolate cake. Definitely not serving that at a dinner party. Everyone's an expert till the market humbles them, right? You're like a financial ninja dodging shurikens. It's that unpredictability, investing's own plot twist. Keeps our pockets guessing and us on our toes. That's the thrill of it. Now, speaking of twists, you heard about people now investing in digital art and memes? That's flipping the script completely.
Oh, the digital age, my friend. It's zapping everything with its high voltage current, even old school stuff like our homes. So real estate, once as traditional as, I don't know, meatloaf on Sundays, is now getting a makeover with this whole blockchain tokenization thing. Joe, imagine, instead of owning an entire building, you buy like a slice of that pie, digitally, and it's all recorded in this snazzy new ledger online. Sounds like sci-fi, but it's happening. What's that about, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Like back in the day, you wanted real estate, you needed big bucks and maybe a fancy suit. But here's what's cool. Blockchain's like this democratizing force, breaking down barriers. Now Joe from next door can grab a stake in some commercial property without selling an arm. But hang on, let's not all jump in the pool without checking for sharks. With tokenization, there are risks, regulatory hoops, market volatility, and, tech hiccups. This isn't monopoly money we're playing with. Plus legal stuff, it's murky waters, and the rule book's sort of writing itself as we go. So yeah, it's Wild West vibes. Folks better saddle up and ride carefully into this digital frontier.
Uh, Wait, hold up a sec. You're telling me Joe the Everyman can snag a piece of real estate now without having to cough up insane amounts of cash or don a power tie? That's kind of nuts. In a crazy good way. So you just get this tiny digital token thingy that says, hey, I kind of own a brick in that huge office downtown, and boom, you're playing ball with the big shots? Man, my brain's doing somersaults here. But I'm not gonna lie, it sounds a bit like hopscotch in a minefield with all those risks and legal mumbo-jumbo you mentioned. And this whole rulebook on the fly deal makes me think someone's building a plane midair. It's pretty bonkers, but I gotta say, if this takes off, woo, we're looking at a game changer, my friend. A freaking game changer.
All right, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Simon. The whole token thing. It's like cutting the pie into micro slices so anyone can have a taste. But I gotta say, there's a but here. Because while we're letting Joe the Everyman in on the action with his digital deed and all that jazz, let's not ignore that owning a fraction means you get a fraction of control. Like if things tank, your slice might just crumble to crumbs. And regulations, it's chaos in the making sometimes. We're stepping on to new turf every day, which is exciting for sure, but who's drawing the lines, setting the rules? We're inventors, playing with fire, so to speak, hoping we don't get burned. So yeah, game-changing, hands down, I'll give you that. But folks wanting in, they better have their heads screwed on tight because they're sailing uncharted waters. And let me tell you, even the most seaworthy ships can hit icebergs. Gotta navigate smart, watch for warning signs. Or, make sure there's a lifeboat handy.
So, what if we're all aboard the Titanic of tokenization, right? My question is, are we partying with Leo on the deck or chilling with the captain, unaware an iceberg's queuing up our theme music. Let's buckle up and see where this wild ride takes us.
Uh, so about buckling up for wild rides, you'll like this one. I remember when my buddy tried the whole rental property gig a while back, kind of like wading into the shallow end before diving in, you know? So this guy, he gets a fixer-upper, believes he's struck gold, a little paint, some elbow grease, and voila! Except things get tricky fast with maintenance woes and tenant dramas. I mean, who knew a leaking faucet could flood your entire basement? Anyway, his story's a bit like tokenization, full of this optimism, but not without stumbles, yeah? Shows you've got to prep for hurdles. Question is, are digital real estate investors ready for virtual maintenance issues? Not as simple as they seem, right? Like things getting iffy isn't just possible, it's almost expected. Now we're all watching, waiting to see if they've got their tool belts ready or if they'll need a bigger boat. Funny how that works. Old challenges and new tech clothes still need some good old problem-solving know-how.
Yeah, those fixer-upper surprises. I've been there myself, man. So listening to your buddy's story, I'm like thinking, how are folks planning to handle these new digital headaches? Because when you throw tech into the mix, it's a whole different ballgame, right? What's the plan when their virtual pipe bursts, so to speak?
Simon. That's the million-dollar question. When the digital pipe bursts, things can get murky real quick. Because it's not like there's a plumber for blockchain glitches or someone to call when a smart contract doesn't. Investors got to saddle up with a solid plan for these what-ifs. Like our board game nights, right? You kind of have to think several moves ahead, anticipate the mishaps. And let's be honest, most folks might just not get the tech, ethereal tokens over concrete bricks. It's daunting. So having pros in your corner who speak crypto and legal S becomes crucial. It's like having a cheat sheet. The key will be crisp, clear strategies for bailing out water from that virtual leak. The tech's cool and all, but without sturdy plans and a patch kit, you'll find your assets sinking into the digital abyss faster than you can say blockchain. It's uncharted waters out there. No one's cruising without risking a face full of sea spray.
Yeah, so diving deeper into that thought about the whole token versus brick thing. Look, investors jumping into this new world, they got to understand the depth of it, like really get the mechanics behind these tokens, and not in a glance over the manual way, but knowing the ins and outs. You get me? Here's another thing. We're dealing with assets tied to the real world, but manipulated through the virtual one. So if an issue pops up, say some legal hiccup or an error in the blockchain magic, there's no easy undo button. We're talking about real money locked in digital form here. And check this out. Regulations aren't just tricky, they're also kind of blurry and always playing catch-up. Investors better have their ear to the ground for any rule change. It's vital. Big brain time all the time, right? Adaptability is key. It's more than just shifting gears. It's having the wits to build a new car while driving it. Intense stuff. Don't zone out on the tech talk or the policy pages. Like seriously, stay woke or get ready to float in the e-void with everyone else's broken dreams and pixels.
Totally, Simon. And here's a curveball. Some experts reckon one day blockchain could let properties trade like stocks on an exchange. Imagine day trading apartments or office spaces. Now that'd really flip things on their head.
Oh, Joe, the day trading property idea? That's like playing hot potato with skyscrapers. Wild. But hey, speaking of wild rides and potatoes that blew up, let's get into those goof-ups in crypto land. Blockchain blunders can be laugh-out-loud crazy, for real.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on those infamous pump and dump schemes. Man, I heard about folks getting jazzed up over some hot new coin that's supposed to be the next Bitcoin or whatever, dumping their cash into it. Next thing you know, poof, value drops faster than a lead balloon. Turns out it was all smoke and mirrors. The fallout? Just a bunch of baffled faces and empty wallets. And those meme coins? Huh? 1 minute, you've got nothing but lint in your pockets. The next, you're riding high because you put your paycheck on a dog-faced token as a joke. But let's get real. For every rags to riches meme coin tale, there's like a graveyard of scams laughing behind the scenes. It's almost a lottery, except not regulated, so way messier. These crypto faceplants, they're educational, I guess, in that don't touch the stove, it's hot kind of way. Every blunder is chiseling away at public trust, making blockchain seem like it's just chuckles and face palms. But real talk, these mishaps don't define the whole space. There's serious tech beneath the memes and scandals. It's just learning where to look and stepping around the traps.
Yeah, your point's spot on about the pump and dump heartache. It's like those infomercials promising you'll shred your abs in 2 minutes. You want to believe so bad, but deep down you know it smells fishy. And Joe, these meme coins, right? They're like that clearance sale item you bought on a whim. It feels genius until it falls apart 2 days later. There's this slapstick comedy vibe with folks chasing coins minted as jokes. I mean, it's kinda hilarious if it wasn't, also sorta tragic for some wallets. But hold up, not all these hiccups and slip-ups are just educational. They're also screaming for smarter regulations without squashing innovation. Some peeps treat the crypto space like Vegas, but what happens in digital Vegas doesn't stay there. It hits Twitter. And then what? Everyone thinks it's a big joke till more people get burned, and suddenly, blockchain's the punchline no one's laughing at. That ain't helpful. Real talk. The tech's solid beneath those meme overlays. So maybe, rather than pointing fingers, we should be building guardrails to keep the good ship crypto from capsizing in an ocean of laughable misadventures. Let's get ahead of this and maybe sidestep those banana peels scattered all over the blockchain boulevard. It's like weaving through sidewalk shenanigans, but keeping an eye on the prize, you know?
You bet, Simon. Imagine if there was a reality show called The Great Crypto Crash. We'd never run out of content with the way these coins flip and flop.
Oh, for sure. And every week we'd have a special where someone tries to pay their rent with the flash-in-the-pan coin of the week and ends up having to live in a cardboard box because it tanked overnight. Reality TV gold right there, my friend.
Yeah, and let's not forget the educational bit I touched on earlier. Because, every episode of our hypothetical show would be a, tutorial in what not to do in the crypto market. It's all fun and games till people actually start treating these laughable missteps as investment strategies. Plus, we'd need that disclaimer. Don't try this at home unless you fancy a side order of bankruptcy with your meme coins. You've got folks mortgaging their future on stuff like Shiba Inu or Dogecoin because they saw some influencer tweet about it while taking a bathroom break. But here's the real kicker. These bloopers. They ripple out, right? Building sensible regulation around this chaos is key because unchecked hype trains derail hard and fast. So this ain't just popcorn TV. It's the kind of drama that shapes whole policies and perceptions. In one corner, we've got innovation whispering sweet nothings about decentralized finance, and in the other, tales of digital Icaruses flying too close to the sun with wax-winged wallets. Filling in those regulatory potholes without stifling growth. Now that's our cliffhanger season finale material right there.
Pushing back a little here, Joe. While regulation's a must, we gotta ask, are the suits making these rules even savvy enough about crypto? You need to know which end of the digital stick to hold before you start swinging it around in the rulemaking sandbox. And these laughable missteps, they're not just memes or bloopers. They're like reality biting back at people living in their own hype bubble. We're watching folks trying to skateboard down a landslide. Of course, they're going to wipe out. So between learning what not to do and waiting on reliable guidelines, it's a bit of a Wild West show with high-stakes poker face-offs. The cliffhanger here isn't just about filling in potholes. It's seeing if we can create a map that stops people from driving into them at full speed, because knowing where the road leads, that's half the battle won. It's tricky, man. You want growth, but with safety nets, not steel cages. It's balancing act 101, and hilariously, not everyone's a tightrope walker.
Spot on about the balancing act. It's like tossing flaming chainsaws. Sure, it looks cool to try, but one wrong move and someone's getting an unexpected haircut.
Totally. Or imagine juggling those chainsaws while blindfolded and riding a unicycle. That's crypto investment without proper know-how. Thrilling, but you're one slip away from becoming a meme yourself.
Absolutely, Simon. It's staggering how crypto is based on decentralized ledger technology, secure, transparent, and yet folks somehow still stumble into these traps. Like in 2017, the ICO craze, people threw money at anything with blockchain in its white paper, no due diligence. Over $100 million lost to scams that year alone. Talk about a blindfolded chainsaw act. Then there's Dogecoin, right? Started as a joke in 2013, just a funny response to Bitcoin mania. But by 2021, it skyrocketed into the billions because of celebrity tweets and retail investor FOMO. That volatility, it's like riding our unicycle in a hurricane. And we can't ignore the security side either. Some investors dived into crypto without proper wallet security, a big misstep. Then came hackers, phishing their way to fortunes worth millions. It's why the phrase, "not your keys, not your coins," became the mantra for self-custody advocates. These wild tales aren't just warnings, but lessons on the absolute need for investor education and cybersecurity practices in handling digital assets. They show that, even though blockchain itself is solid, the crypto market remains rife with potential pratfalls, echoing that old adage, look before you leap, especially if you're juggling fire.
Exactly, Joe. So here's a thought. Even with all the tech and secure talk around it, crypto's still that Wild West gold rush. People tripping over their shoelaces trying to get rich quick. Makes you wonder, what's the next comedy goldmine gonna be?
Ha! Comedy Goldmine reminds me, we can't talk about the new waves in investing without touching ESG, those environmental, social, and governance-focused funds. There's a kind of irony there. While parts of the crypto market seem to do acrobatics on your portfolio, ESG is right on the other end, trying to ensure that our gold rush doesn't cost us the earth or our humanity. It's an interesting shift seeing investors mine for value without leaving a moral or environmental void behind.
Yeah, Joe, but here's where I'll push back a bit. While I get the whole do good, feel good vibe with ESGs, isn't it like also about following trends? Sure, we want to invest without trashing the planet or exploiting people, right? But when you dig in, how many of these so-called green funds are just putting on a show? You got to ask yourself whether they're truly making an impact or just riding the ESG buzzword into more profits. It's almost like they're baking an ethical pie and then selling slices at a markup because it's organic or whatever. Makes me wonder if some investors are getting fooled by a green label slapped on the same old thing. Still, there's potential for real change here if done genuinely, like setting up kiddos' college fund without backing companies that might wreck their future world. That's smart and forward thinking without sacrificing gains. Kind of like eating your cake and having it too, only the cake is also saving pandas or something. So yeah, mixing ESG ETFs into your portfolio might be good if it's legit and not just smoke and mirrors for that sweet ethical street cred.
You're nailing something crucial here, Simon. With ESGs, if the good intentions are just a mask for profit, well, you're not an investor. You're just another audience member at a magic show where your wallet might disappear. It's all about peeling back those green labels to see who's really walking the talk.
Well, hold up, Joe. On the flip side, I'd argue ESGs aren't all smoke and mirrors. There's some solid ground beneath the buzz. Like studies showed companies with strong ESG standards often dodge scandals and nasty fines, which is great for long-term stability. So investing in these funds might actually trim down risks in your portfolio. And get this, another point. Nowadays, being unethical can be bad for business, right? Public opinion packs a punch. Companies caught doing shady stuff can tank faster than you can say boycott. Social media is like this giant spotlight that nobody wants to be caught under unless they're playing by the rules. So yeah, it's crucial to check if these ESG funds really align with their hype, but them merely existing amps up pressure on companies to clean up their act. That's real impact, which in turn creates a long-term value for investors and society. Plus, let's not forget the kids. Investing in ESGs now could mean handing off a healthier world. It's like making sure we're not just leaving dough, but also breathable air for future generations.
I hear you, Simon, but here's a shocker. Turns out some ESG funds are packed with big oil and plastic producers. Now that's a plot twist.
Yeah, isn't that just a kick in the teeth? Um, Kind of like finding out your diet cookies are loaded with sugar. It's tricky, right? On one hand, including these giants could be seen as pushing them towards greener practices, like shareholder activism and all. But on the other, it's definitely misleading if you think you're going 100% green. So investors need to do their homework, scrutinize those ESGs like they're detectives looking at fine print, or like reading the nutrition label on those diet cookies. Important stuff includes looking at transparency reports, understanding the selection criteria for assets. It's all about ensuring the ESG fund strategy is legit and aligned with personal values. This is serious digging, but hey, it's for a good cause. You want your greens to be actually green and not, well, greenwashed cash grabs. That way, when parents sock away money for their kids' future, they can breathe easy knowing they're backing up the good guys, or at least, the less bad ones.
Oh, completely with you on the dig deep detective work for ESG scrutiny. But let's face it, some of these so-called green behemoths are greener than an unripe banana. And here's food for thought. When big oil gets a seat at the ESG table, we're essentially rewarding minimal effort with max publicity. That right there is a masterclass in greenwashing. And then this could be us running into a catch-22. Demand skyrockets for ESG because everyone's trying to be the good guy. Prices for these ethical investments soar. Next thing you know, does your do-gooder portfolio actually perform? Or are we just padding the pockets of the wolves in sheep's clothing? Ask any parent saving for their kids. They'll tell you returns matter as much as morals. Can't pay for college with goodwill alone, right? So yeah, want a real bang for your buck move? Balance out those ESGs with a solid reality check. We're talking due diligence, not just feel-good investing. Fixating on labels without substance, that's a trap more tangled than last year's Christmas lights.
Well, Joe, tell you what, it's a jungle out there with ESG funds. Investing like a true green warrior means extracting the real deal from the pile of posers. Think of it as panning for gold in Wild West. It's swirl and rinse until you spot the real sparkle. What do you reckon investing will look like down the road if everyone starts panning correctly?
If everyone's panning correctly in the ESG river? Man, imagine that. A world where your nest egg builds without cracking someone else's. But transitioning to our next nugget, let's talk bonds. They might not glitter like gold, but in a market shakeup, they could be the bedrock of your financial fort under siege.
Oh, for sure, Joe. Bonds, right? People think they're like the grandparents of investments, not flashy, but steady as heck. You've got your government bonds, which are like betting on the home team, solid during storms, because, well, Uncle Sam's got deep pockets. Then there's munis, or municipal bonds, for the local heroes supporting community projects, and usually tax-free to boot, sweet. Corporate bonds, though, it's like picking stocks, higher risk, but juicier returns. During recessions, bonds can be clutch. History's playbook shows they tend to hold their ground when stocks are doing a nosedive act. Yeah, and if you're getting into bond ladders, you're playing 4D chess with interest rates, buying various maturities to keep cash flowing while dodging rate hikes. Listen, in a world where markets bounce like a yo-yo on a sugar rush, bonds can be that trusty old blanket, keeping your toes warm through economic winters. Making them mix into your portfolio, well, that's just smart cooking, a pinch of bonds for that balanced flavor. They might not be bulletproof like Superman, but more like a solid Kevlar vest. Takes a lot to puncture that defense.
All right, for those just tuning in, we're unpacking the cozy world of bonds. Think of bonds like your investment safety net. They're not making it rain like stocks might, but hey, they're keeping you dry during the downpours. Government bonds, solid as they come, like betting on your favorite team that almost never loses. Municipal or munis, let's say these guys are more like your local mom and pop shop. They give back to the hood and keep things tight. And corporate bonds, think of them like the lottery ticket in your bond mix. Higher risk, but potentially sweeter rewards. So yeah, when the stock market pulls a roller coaster move, bonds often chill like nothing's amiss. And if we peek into the history books, we see bonds tend to be more like your trusty old car, reliable even when the new sports models, the stocks, are breaking down. With bond laddering and other strategies in play, you grab different rungs on the interest rate ladder, so you always have something coming due, ready to reinvest or use as cash. Now remember, calling bonds bulletproof may be stretching it, but they're kind of like that Kevlar vest, tough enough to take some hits and keep you standing. Good thing to have in your portfolio's arsenal, right? Keep it diversified with a sprinkle of bonds. Like salt on pretzels makes for a balanced munch. Do 'em right, and you've got that financial fortification in the bank.
No doubt, bonds are the duct tape of investing. Might not be glamorous, but they'll sure hold things together when everything else is tearing at the seams.
That's the spirit, Simon. And you know what they say, sometimes it's the duct tape fixes that end up outlasting the original parts.
Ha, so true, Joe. Isn't it funny how the simplest solutions like duct tape, or in our case, bonds, almost always stand the test of time? They're unsung heroes in a way.
Absolutely, Simon. When you roll back the years, take the '87 crash, the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, or the 2008 financial crisis, bonds have been the steady eddy. Government and municipal bonds especially have been solid performers during these storms. Here's why. Investors flock to stability and predictability when the markets go nuts. Historical data backs this flight to quality trend. And let's talk strategy with bond laddering. Staggering maturity dates means you lock in various interest rates, hedging against wild swings. With government bonds essentially backed by tax power, and munis often supported by essential services like water and power, they offer resilience. Enabling liquidity as short-term bonds mature regularly is like having a financial Swiss Army knife at your disposal. It keeps you ready for anything. And corporate bonds? Weigh their ratings. AAA rated are less likely to default, making them relatively secure bets within the corporate realm. So while no investment is 100% safe, even duct tape can snap under too much pressure. Fixed income through diverse bonds comes pretty darn close to offering that fortification we're seeking in the vast battlefield of investments.
Oh, wow, Joe. I had no clue bonds were like the financial world's steady eddies through all those big crashes. Government and municipal bonds rock during market panics because they're the stable dudes on the block, backed by tax power. That's kind of wild. And this bond laddering thing, it's genius. Locking in different rates like you're playing Tetris with your money, making sure you're set whatever way the markets tilt. Gives you bits of cash flowing in regularly, like a vending machine that doesn't need quarters. Slick. Corporate bonds are the edgy cousins, huh? Gotta eyeball their ratings, stick to the A-team to keep from biting your nails every time the stock ticker updates. So yeah, gotta admit, nothing's bulletproof in the investment shootout, but it's good to know duct tape's got a cousin in the bond market, keeping things patched up nice and tight.
Yeah, stable during crises, sure, but let's not strap on those rose-colored goggles just yet. Remember, not all bonds are created equal. Think about it. Government bonds are considered safe, right? Because they're backed by tax power. But check this. What if inflation skyrockets and those bond yields suddenly start tasting blander than unsalted popcorn? And then there's municipal bonds. On good days, they're like your neighborhood hero. But remember, munis depend on local government finances. And let's be honest, not every town hall's got their books balanced. If a city's cash-strapped, you might as well kiss that stability goodbye. Now with corporate bonds, it gets even trickier. Sure, sticking to the A-team can save some nail-biting, but when a company hits rough seas, even those AAA ratings can sink faster than you'd think. Hello, unexpected turbulence. Bond laddering is smart, I give you that, but it ain't no secret formula. It's more like juggling. One wrong move, interest rates shift, and your sweet strategy could have you scrambling for exits like a rats off a sinking ship. So while bonds add that layer of security, and yep, they've been reliable in the past, pinning them as infallible is like trusting a weather forecast on Mars. Crazy unpredictable. Listen up, folks. Diversify and keep your eyes wide open. It's not just what you invest in, but understanding where the economic wind is blowing. That's your real Kevlar.
Right on, Joe. It's like bringing an umbrella in a desert. Might not rain, but boy, if it does, you'll be the driest genius around.
Desert umbrella, classic move. But shifting gears to shake things up, let's dive headfirst into the murky waters of cryptocurrency. Is it the modern-day digital gold rush, or just a digital delusion when markets take a nosedive? Let's get into it.
Um, Funny you bring up the whole crypto craze, Joe. Like, reminds me of this time I tried to teach my grandma to text. The look on her face when she sent her first emoji. Man, that was like watching someone find a hidden treasure. That's honestly how I felt when crypto came around, like stepping into a brave new world. Suddenly, we've got this shiny digital thing everyone's saying could hedge against inflation and be our saving grace during tough times. But here's where it gets real. During stressed economies, crypto can be more like a high-stakes poker game. Sometimes you draw a royal flush, other times you're out before you even warm your seat. For instance, remember when Bitcoin went bananas in 2017? Sky high then crash landed so hard, made my roller coaster phobia seem tame. People were treating it like it was gold dust, but by the end of it, kind of felt more like left holding glitter, right? And despite all the techie allure, governments still aren't sold on the idea. They start flexing their regulatory muscles, and who knows how that tight squeeze could change the game during recession times. So yeah, it's this whole new minefield. One, mined with excitement, sure, but peppered with pitfalls too deep for any emoji to express.
Okay, Simon, I get the tech excitement, but let's pump the brakes here. Crypto as a hedge against inflation? Come on, man. It's like bringing fireworks to a bonfire. It's already hot, and you want more heat? Take Bitcoin, for example. It's been through some wild rides, sure. During the COVID-19 crash, it tanked just like everything else. But when we're talking hedging, stability is key, and crypto's got the consistency of pudding at a picnic. Not very. Now, I won't ignore the success stories. There are those who've played their cards right and struck crypto gold during downturns. But for every one of those, there's a bunch who've watched their digital stash vanish like a Snapchat message. Regulations, huh? They loom over crypto like the boogeyman in your closet. Governments could crack down anytime, and that digital gold might as well be fool's gold if Uncle Sam says your Bitcoin's worth bubkas. And let's not even start on energy consumption for mining these babies. That's a heavyweight match with environmental concerns any day of the week. So yeah, while there's potential upside, that glittering lure of uncapped growth comes with risks high enough to give acrophobes vertigo. My 2 cents? Treat crypto like wasabi. A little bit can add zing, but too much and your financial sinuses are on fire.
Well, Joe, treating crypto like wasabi might just be the secret recipe. Keeps it interesting without burning down the kitchen.
So if wasabi crypto doesn't torch your taste buds, let's chew on this. Say a solar flare takes down the power grid. Your digital wallet? Poof. How's that for spicing things up?
Ah man, Joe, a solar flare zapping the power grid is like planning a moonwalk and forgetting your spacesuit at home. Just a tiny problem, right? Cryptocurrencies rely on tech that uses more juice than a marathon of Saturday morning cartoons. So let's get this straight. Even if some folks manage to avoid getting their crypto coins toasted in a power outage, or say, during network mayhem, we gotta ask, are they truly recession-proof? I'm not convinced. Like, you could have all your digital dollars lined up 1 second, next thing, poof, gone with the solar wind. Like, remember when Bitcoin went down with the economy quicker than a lead balloon in 2020? That's not what you want to see in something that's supposed to save your hide when the going gets tough. And about regulations, boy. Talk about playing in a sandbox while the cat's circling. It feels safe until, well, it's suddenly not. So sure, people hit jackpots betting on crypto as their golden parachute. But for every high flyer, tons more are left holding an empty bag, wondering where their magic internet money vanished to. It's like investing in unicorns. Magical, wild, and kinda not real until proven otherwise. My 2 bits? Dabble if you dare. Have fun and all, but keep most of that cash somewhere less pop goes the weasel. You know? Because when tough times hit, I'd rather be the guy with the flashlight, not the dude waiting for his phone to charge.
All right, Simon, let's flip the coin here. Because not everyone agrees that crypto is just pixie dust and hype, right? So while crashes like in 2020 give critics ammo, believers will point to Bitcoin bouncing back and fast. By late 2020 and early 2021, it wasn't just recovering, it was breaking records. That's compelling, because it raises a point. What if crypto is just playing by different rules? Like digital gold for the tech-savvy generation. And look at countries with currency devaluation. People there are actually using Bitcoin as a shield against inflation. This is real-world utility, not just speculation. So, in those scenarios, crypto's not just magic internet money, it's a life raft. The other side, they argue regulation could legitimize crypto even further. Governments might start holding Bitcoin reserves soon. That would be a game changer. So, thinking about it, sometimes strictly traditional thinking doesn't catch up with new financial landscapes. And crypto, it challenges conventional wisdom on assets and value storage. Yeah, it's unpredictable, like a kitchen fire, no doubt. But every now and then, we see those sparks light up something new, valuable, sort of lights the way for possibilities we hadn't considered before. So, while volatile, crypto's rapid growth and rebound ability, well, it sometimes looks less like a lead balloon and more like a silicon phoenix, Just food for thought.
Joe, could it be that the financial playbook needs a fresh chapter? With crypto, hey, maybe we're witnessing the birth of a new kind of phoenix, one that rises from digital ashes and requires us to throw out the old rulebook.
Absolutely, Simon. Maybe we're at the edge of a revolution where digital currencies are rewriting the rules. It's like we're not just playing the same old game of Monopoly anymore. We've thrown in some wild cards that could make us or break us. But heck, isn't that what makes it thrilling?
So diving deeper into that digital currency evolution stuff, it's like we're living through a financial remix, right? I read somewhere that investments in the crypto space have surged. And not just from folks in their basements wearing tinfoil hats, but big institutional players are wading into this pool too. And think about blockchain, man. This isn't just tech for creating money out of thin air. It's the backbone of digital currency. It has potential way beyond just trading coins. It's about creating a new system that's transparent, efficient, and keeps everyone honest without some middleman watching your every move. Then there's the adaptability factor. Take a gander at how Bitcoin shrugged off its crash faster than my dog shakes off bathwater. I mean, by late 2020, the bounce back was wild. And yeah, those countries with plunging currencies, they're ducking and weaving their economic blows with crypto. For them, Bitcoin is less of a gamble and more of a necessity. Oh, and let's not forget, assuming regulation doesn't go full doomsday, governments recognizing crypto, that'd be akin to playing Monopoly with real hotels on the board, not just plastic pieces. So, while some folks see the unpredictable sways in crypto akin to rolling dice with their life savings, others reckon it's just part and parcel of digital disruption. High risk, high reward, just like sailing uncharted seas, eh? Yeah, volatility's a bugbear, but might be one you train to fetch your slippers instead of biting your hand off, if you're smart about it. So this modern tech twist in our wallets could indeed spark a revolution, or still just be a clever science project. Anyway, sure makes for a wild ride ahead.
Totally, Simon. The game has new players and the stakes, astronomical. Institutions jumping in gives crypto a nod of legitimacy. Blockchain's potential is just starting to unfold, like we've only read the first page of an epic novel. And as for those wild market recoveries, they grab headlines, sure. Bitcoin's resilience shows there's some muscle behind the magic. So yeah, high risk, high reward. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it can't be dismissed. Whether it's a revolution or a fancy science project remains to be seen. Will this digital phoenix keep rising? Stay tuned.
Man, Joe, when you talk cash flow misadventures, it's like watching a dog chase its tail. Hilarious, but kind of sad too. Some of these stunts companies pull, like putting roller skates on an elephant and hoping it doesn't crash the china shop.
Haha, roller skates on an elephant? Man, I've got to tell you about this local gym, right? During a rough patch, they were sort of, strapped for cash. So they started renting out space in the evenings to anyone who needed it, yoga classes, dance clubs, even a group of amateur wrestlers. But here's where it gets wild. One day, they decide to combine workouts with dining experiences, like literally serving protein shakes and chicken breasts on the treadmill. Talk about multitasking. Well, turns out that quirky idea caught on. People loved it. The gym made headlines, memberships soared, and no China was crashed in the process. They got creative, turned their space into a money-making machine in ways no one saw coming. Guess that goes to show, huh? Sometimes you just need a little outside-the-box action to keep the wheels turning, even if it looks kind of goofy at the starting line.
Oh, that's a gem, Joe. But get this. There was this bookshop struggling to flip the page on their financial woes. Now, what they did cracked me up and was kind of brilliant. They started these blind date with a book nights, wrapped up books in plain paper, wrote teaser blurbs without giving away the title. Surprise factor through the roof. People ate it up like novelty was going out of style, right? Traffic went from a lazy river to Niagara Falls during tourist season, kept the shop afloat when e-readers were gobbling up their market. But really, dining on the treadmill? Sounds like watching Bambi on ice. Fun to watch, but I'm not sure about joining in. Like, where do you put your elbows while chowing down on chicken? So does making a splash with weird ideas fix cash flow, or just delay the inevitable drip dry? Our gym turned gourmet gallop got lucky, made sweat smell like success. Not the usual outcome for wild stabs in the dark. Just saying.
So for our just tuned in folks, we're chin-wagging about a downright quirky cash flow solutions businesses have rolled with when the going gets tough. Like my buddy Joe here mentioned a gym that started serving meals on treadmills. Crazy, right? And I brought up a bookshop which had wild success selling blind date books to keep their story alive. So wacky ideas, sometimes they're like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but occasionally something sticks and voila, you've cooked up a new way to make dough. It's all about creativity during crunch time. Whether it's dining with dumbbells or mystery novels, these out-there tactics can be like a real lifesaver when traditional methods just don't cut it anymore. We're talking laughs in liquidity, the lighter side of making ends meet. Keep it locked here for more tales from the financial wilderness.
You know, Joe, it's like the wilder the idea, the better chance of striking oil in a desert. Makes you wonder what oddball solutions are still waiting for their grand debut on Broadway.
You know, the creativity in those off-the-wall solutions, it kind of mirrors what it takes to excel in long-term investing, too. Funny how that works, whether we're talking about turning page turners into dates or making your assets work for you over decades. Both require a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking and definitely a strong mindset to weather all sorts of storms. Speaking of which, Simon makes me think of the psychological game behind successful long-term investing. That's a whole labyrinth to navigate, ain't it?
Oh, absolutely. You crack open something like The Intelligent Investor, and it's all about keeping your head while everyone else is losing theirs. Easier said than done, right? Markets shoot up and down like a yo-yo on a sugar rush, and there we are, trying not to jump ship the second it dips. And fear and greed? They're not just words. They're like the angel and devil on your shoulders, whispering sweet nothings when you're staring at that red or green arrow. Those who make it big time. They've kind of mastered Zen in the face of chaos. I mean, a buddy of mine always says, investing's like planting a tree. You don't dig it up every few days to check if the roots are growing, right? It's that mindset, slow and steady, letting compound interest work its magic over years, decades even. Joe, people chase hot tips like seagulls after fries, but long-haul winners play chess, not checkers. They stick to a strategy through thick and thin, emotionally detached like a Vulcan. That's the ticket. So my 2 cents for our listeners, cultivate patience, do your homework, and think long-term. Because if you treat the market like a slot machine, don't be surprised when it eats your quarters and spits out lint.
Ha, seagulls and fries, Simon. Spot on. And hey, if we're tossing analogies around, riding out market swings is like teaching a rhino to surf. You gotta stay balanced, keep your cool, because panicking, it only ends with a wipeout.
Yeah, you know, Joe, it reminds me of this time when I was fishing with my old man. We're out on the lake, and we got lines in the water, right? And nothing's biting, like at all. So here's me just itching to reel them in and cast again, thinking maybe I'll get lucky next toss. But my dad, he's as patient as a statue, tells me, Simon, it's not about catching fish the second the line hits the water. He says it's about knowing what you're doing and then waiting. And like, he was spot on. Hours go by, and bam, we hit this school of bass. They were fighters too. If I had kept reeling in out of impatience, probably would have scared them off for good. So investing, kind of similar, right? You set your strategy, plant your bait, and wait. Circumstances change, market gets rough, waters get choppy, but if you stick with it, keep that cool head often enough, you land the catch. Just gotta endure those quiet stretches without, second-guessing every choice or chasing after every shadow under the surface.
That's classic, man. Fishing teaches life lessons. Best investors are like those patient anglers, ready to ride through boring stretches without knee-jerk reactions. They win by not scaring off the big fish with constant fussing. It's about the long game, not the quick catch.
You know, Joe, speaking of the long game, people always harp on about riding it out like it's some Zen garden walk. But let's not kid ourselves. Even those investor gurus with their mantras can get shaky knees. Human nature's a beast, and fear has this sneaky way of creeping up when that portfolio dips. So there's strategy, and then there's being human, right? Sure, the intelligent investor's telling us to be rational, unemotional, but we're not Vulcans. We've got heartbeats and mortgages. Sticking to your guns sounds fab until the market swan dives and turns into a house of horrors. And these stories from investors who've stayed cool as cucumbers during crashes, I mean, come on. Sometimes it's less about emotional detachment and more about sheer dumb luck, like surviving a circus cannonball stunt without a scratch. Cultivating patience is one thing, but let's talk brass tacks. It takes real grit to face the music when your hard-earned cash starts dancing the tango down the drain. Any tips for our listeners on, like, staying sane when their financial ship's taking on water? Because trust me, mindfulness ain't all it's cracked up to be when you're 2 seconds from capsizing.
No kidding, Simon. Patience in investing isn't just about being still. It's active resilience, like standing in a hurricane and trusting your umbrella. Betting on mindfulness alone might as well bring a pool noodle to a sword fight. Real talk, it's about having a plan so solid, not even market chaos makes you flinch.
Oh, for sure, Joe. But let's poke at that a sec. You say have a plan so solid, not even chaos makes you flinch? Come on. Sounds like setting folks up to feel like they failed the second doubt creeps in. And, a plan. It's only as good as the paper it's written on when the hurricane hits. Anyone can sail smooth seas, but raging storms? That's a whole different ballgame, my friend. It's not just about trusting your umbrella. It's knowing when to find shelter, too. We all have plans until we get punched in the mouth. Thanks, Mike Tyson, for that nugget of wisdom. We ought to tell our listeners, yeah, craft your plan, but also teach them to adapt, not just stick their heads in the sand and hope their strategy is hurricane-proof. Because, spoiler alert, it ain't. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes that means ducking, weaving, and rewriting the playbook. So resilience? Yeah, it's key. But so's flexibility. Market's like a live wire. You gotta handle it with care, or you're gonna get zapped.
Flexibility, huh? That's like setting your GPS to reroute automatically with every roadblock. Having a recalculate route option is critical when you're driving blindfolded on Wall Street.
Oh, you nailed it, amigo. Like taking those detours in stride instead of swearing at your dashboard. Keeps that blood pressure nice and low, too.
So, yeah, it kind of takes me back to my college days, right? I was dabbling in the stock market, rookie level stuff. And there was this one day, my economics professor, he spots me checking my portfolio in class. He comes over after the lecture, leans in, and I swear his mustache twitched like he had secret wisdom to share. He goes, "Joe, you look like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Markets got you jumping?" Embarrassed as hell, I admit that, yeah, they do. But then he shared this golden nugget that sticks with me. It's not just about watching numbers. It's like observing people. Be patient, but read the signs. Adapt. Turns out his advice, it mirrored investing and life alike. Those early trades taught me more about life than any textbook. It's about reading patterns, knowing when to stick with your choices or pivot, just like avoiding tripping over those dang cats.
Oh man, Joe, your prof sounds like he was one wise cat. You said long-tail cat? Love that. It's like spot on. But check it out. Reading the market is one thing. Acting on it's another ballgame. See, he said observe people, right? But markets, they're like herds of cats, not just one. And let me tell you, trying to read a herd of cats while staying cool, that's a trick and a half. Sure, we adapt, but sometimes it's like pure chaos theory in action. No wonder folks dive off into those goofy side hustles. Life ain't neat. It's not all cut and dried patterns and clean pivots. Sometimes it feels like playing jazz with a spreadsheet. Market's a mood, an impulse. It makes us human. Really gets me when experts spew emotions are bad lines. I mean, come on, we're not robots. And hey, watching numbers is fun until your retirement fund starts looking like a gamble at the roulette wheel, huh? All I'm saying is, while pivoting's good, brace for impact too. Maybe grab a helmet. Gotta get ready to roll with those punches, market throws, or end up face first in the kitty litter.
Circling back, though, Simon, there's this other side of the coin when it comes to machines and morality. I mean, algorithms, they're cold, right? No sweaty palms when markets tank. So here's the thing. When we talk about machine morality in markets, you could argue integrity becomes like simpler. Take high-frequency trading. Bots make decisions based on data, not on a fear-greed spectrum that can muddle human judgment. They stick to their programmed strategies with unwavering consistency, which is often celebrated as a form of integrity in itself. And let's be real, these algorithms often have access to and can process way more information than any human could. Practical, legal insights even. Not relying on guts or feelings, but on numbers, patterns. They don't get info wrong because someone cried wolf on social media. Now, the catch? We got to ensure transparency, fairness, because yeah, letting bots play the market comes with massive responsibility. Gamifying investments while forgetting the rules are for flesh and blood beings. That's where we need to tread carefully. It plays out like we're spectators in our own game if we lean too hard on tech without questioning its impact on us, the human element in trade. So while human emotions are fallible, the question isn't just about tempering them. It's also about considering how we balance all that silicon efficiency with our carbon values. It's complex, layered, dynamite stuff. Gotta handle it with integrity, like diffusing a bomb with grace under fire.
Well, if you put it like that, then what are we, the humans, just backseat drivers, trusting our financial GPS not to drive off a cliff? Makes you wonder who's really in control.
Aha, control's an illusion sometimes. But hey, letting algorithms run the show, we're not quite in the matrix yet. It's like handing your car keys to a robot. Might be efficient, but you want to make sure it knows the destination and the rules of the road. Or we're all going to crash the party, literally.
So Joe, remember that road trip we took a while back? My car's sat-nav was acting all kinds of wonky, right? Steering us down these crazy back alleys, like real horror movie vibes. We wanted to hit the highway, but instead we're in the boonies surrounded by cornfields. We trusted the tech plug-and-play destination set, but like it had its own ideas where we should go, practically envisioned us as scarecrows or something. Psychology aside, ended up using old-school maps and human noggin power to reroute ourselves onto the right path. So with algorithmic trading, feels kind of similar, you know? You've got this system making bullet decisions based on complex data. It's sleek, efficient, gutless. But hey, who programmed it? What if it veers, takes a turn into those financial back alleys? The integrity part comes into play when considering how much trust we put in these systems. Like my SatNav adventure, we want to ensure that these AI algorithm friends of ours aren't just about efficiency, but also about keeping our moral compass in check. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants their portfolio lost in the maze because someone mistyped profit instead of profit. Talk about misguided investments, right?
All right, Simon, let's dig into this more. Algorithmic trading, right? It's like we've handed the wheel over to a computer that's been taught how to drive by watching every race since the dawn of Daytona. These systems are crunching numbers and executing trades at speeds Captain Kirk would envy. What's nuts is they're designed by humans, programming profit paths, but also, hopefully, embedding some guardrails of good old human decency. And ethical investing isn't just a buzzword for Sunday school. It's getting traction because folks want their dollars doing backstrokes in the pools of companies with clean water policies instead of oil slicks, you know. Self-driving market decisions, they better not plow through a farmer's market of morally grown investments. But hey, can integrity be coded into machines like them drone delivery pizzas? This ain't child's play. It's game theory with real-world stakes as high as Elon's Starship aspirations. Algorithms need to juggle not only pips and dips, but also the weighty values investors hold dear. Basically, we plant seeds hoping for beanstalks while keeping an eye out for giants. And that's like no bedtime story.
Joe, let's be real. If my IRA had legs, it'd probably bolt for the hills seeing a bot with an ethics manual in one hand and my life savings in the other.
Ha! Investing with a bot like that is like giving a toddler scissors. Might work out, but boy, do we need to watch our fingers.
Right? So, this one time, I had a buddy who got into those automatic vacuum cleaners. You know, the ones that roam around eating dust bunnies. And he's like programming it to dodge his messes and all that jazz. But get this, instead of just sucking up crumbs, this thing starts barreling through his Lego collection. He programmed it for efficiency, not picking and choosing its battles. And man, did it love turning Darth Vader's Death Star into space dust. It illustrates how even with the best intentions, coding machines to tidy up our investments or our living rooms, we gotta consider the collateral damage. It's about finding balance. Those vacuums, or trading bots, need enough awareness to figure out which, obstacles are worth navigating around, lest we wanted a mint-condition collectible turned into confetti.
Exactly. Efficiency can't bulldoze value. Whether it's Legos or ledgers, coding care into these machines is crucial, else we're left with chaos in the name of convenience. Leaves you wondering where that sweet spot is between cold calculation and integrity, doesn't it?
Yeah, Joe, that's a tough one. It's like when you're looking through those rose-tinted glasses, anything red flags just look like regular old flags, you know? Speaking of seeing things in a certain light, it sort of makes me think about this whole other can of worms. AI biases in the stock game.
I hear you on bias, Simon. It's like your GPS might be unbiased about the route until it starts favoring left turns because a lefty coded it. Now, put that in stocks. These AIs are sniffing out trades with the nose their programmers gave them. But what if that sniffer is skewed? Bias in AI, it's not just a glitch. It's like a ghost in the machine. And let's not kid ourselves. An AI is as objective as like the data and rules it feeds on. If there's an echo of human bias in there, then we've got a snowball effect barreling down Wall Street. Can we really untangle creators' biases from their creations? Tough one, because unconscious or not, those preferences can seep into algorithms through like biased historical data or the stock selections they're trained on. So now, instead of broadening our portfolio, maybe we're just reinforcing old patterns, cozying up to familiar picks, even if it means missing opportunities knocking elsewhere. Bottom line, stripping out bias and making sure we're betting on the full deck, not just the hand we know, that's where the rubber meets the road. Gotta throw those rose tints away and scrutinize each card. Otherwise, we end up playing a rigged game where pot luck is following someone else's recipe, and nobody wants that kind of surprise dinner.
You hit the nail on the head, but let's poke at it some more. It's kind of like you're at that fancy sushi conveyor belt, right? Dishes are streaming by, easy pickings. But what if that robot chef back there only likes salmon because he's seen mostly people eat that? So the AI's serving up trade after trade of salmon stocks because historical data says, hey, that's the hot ticket. But meanwhile, your taste or market advantage is in like those elusive eel rolls being overlooked. Here's the deal. They say numbers don't lie, but the stories we tell with them sure can. Programmer biases snuggling into algorithms. That's not just a bug. It's like design feature no one signed up for. We need the full menu, an unbiased financial feast, so to speak. We gotta ask, is our bot chef just cranking out copies of Wall Street's past hits, or creating opportunities from fresh, diverse ingredients? And exactly how do we sprinkle in the right seasoning to give that machine a balanced palate? Something to chew on, because last thing we want is all our portfolios yelling, "Chef, check your taste buds."
I'm picturing it now. AI in a chef hat, but we got to make sure it's not just dishing out yesterday's leftovers, masquerading as today's specials.
Because really, who wants yesterday's soggy sushi? We want our AI chefs crafting a financial feast that's Michelin star fresh, not microwaved mediocrity.
So, this reminds me of a time I was at one of those super authentic Italian diners. You know the kind, family owned recipes older than the Colosseum. The place was famous for its secret sauce. Naturally, everyone's ordering dishes smothered in it. But I noticed the restaurant had this one like understated dish pushed down the menu. Barely got any love. Gnocchi alla Sorrentina. Real underdog stuff. Anyway, I gave it a shot, and you won't believe it, but it was that good, like life-changing good. See, the thing is, if that diner were run by an algo pizzaiolo just cooking up popular choices, I'd have missed out big time on this hidden gem. It's kind of like with finance. Everyone's devouring these salmon stocks because they're popular, and they have been forever, feels like. But forget not, there are culinary and financial masterpieces waiting to be discovered if we're only willing to look past what the secret sauce algos serve. The catch? Getting these bots to showcase the full spectrum on the menu, including those gnocchis just trying to get a taste of the spotlight.
And how about making things more interesting, right? Because here's the kicker. It's not like the bots are out here picking stocks out of thin air. It's all in the code, sort of, like DNA with dollar signs. But if that DNA is a hand-me-down from Wall Street ancestors stuck in their own ways, we've got ourselves some genetic bias on our hands. Imagine you're tweaking this algorithm to avoid the old-school mishaps and whatnot. Gotta be careful it doesn't just regurgitate Grandpa's portfolio, focusing on traditional blue chips when there's shiny new crypto glitter floating out there. Surely, we can't let it play favorites based on outdated tastes. Gotta challenge the bot to lift those lesser-known startups into the limelight. In essence, Joe, it's like we're asking HAL 9000 to make us a mixed tape. Instead of rolling with only the hits from the 80s, we want this season's top 10s too. The mix needs diversity, not just to jam to, but to ensure that when we hit play, each stock gets its moment to shine or flop. But hey, at least give them a chance. That's key to leveling the stock selection playing field.
But man, what if we tweak it too much? Maybe the bot starts loving those crypto glitter stocks a tad too hard, and suddenly we're living in a speculative bubble bath without a lifesaver. Balancing act, more like a tightrope walk.
Sure, but who doesn't love a bit of thrill in their portfolio? A bubble bath with no lifesaver. That's the story of every Wall Street legend, ain't it?
Well, look, a thrill's one thing, but let's not confuse legends with cautionary tales. Yeah, the big players made names riding highs, but for every mythic win, there are countless busts we don't glamorize. So here's like my take. Blindly chasing thrills, that's for rookies, not for seasoned traders or savvy algorithms. If our AI chef starts whipping up bubble baths instead of balanced meals, we're setting the table for a disaster with a capital D. Consider this, the tech bubble. Real estate in '08, history's littered with crashes that started out as innocent joyrides. Diversity ain't just ethical, it's survival, keeping portfolios robust when the latest craze turns belly up. And remember, behind each algorithm is a responsibility to investors, to the market's health, and to keep things sane. Can't afford to have AI go all in on risky bets, need some stable cronies like ETFs riding shotgun to stead the course. So yeah, heart-pumping portfolios sound sexy until you're performing CPR on your nest egg, right?
Man, Joe, that's just like saying you need a balanced diet, but chowing down on candy bars because they got nutritional value. A diverse portfolio shouldn't mean a salad bar with lettuce and 17 kinds of croutons. But let's be real. If AI starts tossing all our greens for croutons because of some skewed historical bias, preferring tech over every other sector, well, we might as well dress up our portfolios for Halloween, because there'll be nothing but ghost stories soon after. We're trusting these algos to look after the health of our finances, like personal trainers for our bank accounts. So if they start skipping leg day, we're going to topple over when the market runs a marathon, right? Can't have our bots building portfolios that skip on the diversification squats. And another thing, we put so much sauce on these secret algorithms. Can't forget to check if it's expired. Just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it's a slam dunk for the future. Markets evolve, man, faster than my distaste for anchovies, which is fast. It's got to be about smart, nuanced choices, not bias with a backbeat.
Absolutely. And don't forget, an overzealous AI is like a kid overdosing on sugar. They're all fun and games until the crash comes. Now imagine that in your investment portfolio. Chaos in Candyland.
Hey Joe, you know what? This whole talk about AI goof-ups just makes me think of when I tried to teach my dog new tricks using one of those online tutorials. Boy, was that a scene!
Imagine this. We're on Wall Street, right? And it's just like my dog's training session. Things go sideways super fast. The AIs are like dogs chasing after their tails. You're buying, I'm selling. No one knows why stocks are plummeting. There we are, staring at our screens, watching numbers tumble like Jenga blocks. And I'm like, Simon, buddy, do traders even blink during a flash crash? Or is that when they see the Matrix? But then, remember those algorithms gone wild. They're making trades faster than we can say, what the hedge fund? Now, you've got investors gaping, brokers face-palming, and somewhere on a beach, a programmer's spitting out his pina colada going, oops, it's the comedy of errors, except no one's laughing until the dust settles. And when it does, we just gotta ask, was it algorithmic ambition or just digital clumsiness? What's your take, Simon? Ever felt like you blinked and missed the whole show?
Well, Joe, look, from where I stand, the algorithm might just be the fall guy here. We've seen this rodeo before, right? Human error plays a big part. So, like, take the May 2010 crash, fat finger trades, they call them. A trader hits a B instead of an M on their keyboard, and boom, billion-dollar error. Whoops, algorithms are only doing what they've been told. Make money, make it fast. And they do, like, real fast. But if we don't factor in their over-enthusiastic reactions to market hiccups, well, we might as well put my dog in charge of trading, because it's going to be chaos either way. The valid point is, humans set up the rules of the game. AIs play it. When they overshoot, it's on us. We wrote the playbook without an off switch for when things spiral. So, maybe instead of gaping at the screens or ducking for cover, we should be fine-tuning those algos so that next time they're more golden retriever than bull in a china shop. You know?
Yeah, but Simon, isn't blaming fat fingers like telling the teacher your dog ate your homework? Come on. Sure, we humans set things in motion, but these algo-driven flash crashes, they're like sci-fi movies gone rogue. And when we programmed these AIs, wasn't there supposed to be like a red button somewhere? This is not a drill brake pad? Because if not, we're just throwing dice in Vegas hoping Lady Luck can code. Look, market's always been a beast, but with algorithms, now it's a beast on nitro. We train them for speed and efficiency. They run wild before we can scream halt. It's like a Monty Python skit where nobody knows why we're running, just that the coconut clacks are thundering close behind. So here's the deal. We got to engineer some sanity checks into this comedy act. Otherwise, next stock setback could slapstick us straight into a reality where investors are face-to-face with the Flash himself. Only he's short-selling our stocks faster than you can say, uh-oh. And let me tell you, no one's ready to race that guy, right?
Huh, sanctions on ham sandwiches. Imagine that waking us up from our algorithmic nightmares. Funny thought, maybe that's the sanity check we need, a good old sandwich embargo to distract the bots gone wild.
This one time, I was at the deli trying to get my usual turkey on rye, right? But their card machine starts acting up, glitchy as all hell. Everyone's cards are getting denied. People are getting antsy. The line's out the door. Now, I'm thinking all systems no-go here. I just want my sandwich, and there's mass confusion over a simple swipe. Clerk's sweating bullets. He's hitting buttons, swipes, turning into a sleight-of-hand magic trick gone wrong. And then this old-timer behind me chuckles, pulls out cold hard cash from his wallet. pays for his pastrami, no hiccups, easy peasy. Sort of like our flash crash talk, only instead of stocks, it's lunch at stake. Inside that bleeping horror show of tech snafus was the simplest fix: go analog in a digital meltdown. A good reminder for us all, huh? When high-speed trading hits a snag, maybe we don't need fancy algorithms or panic. Sometimes the best play is a step back, to basics. A ham sandwich without the market sanctions. You get me?
You nailed it, Joe. Sometimes you gotta skip the high-tech drama and keep a crisp 20 in your pocket for emergencies. Or sandwiches. So just like that deli meltdown showed us, when tech tanks, maybe it's not such a bad idea to have an old-fashioned backup plan. Makes you wonder if all these traders during a flash crash would be calmer with a cash sandwich on standby, right? What even is our plan B for Wall Street's digital oopsie moments?
Speaking of Plan B, it really gets you thinking about the bigger picture, doesn't it? Like as we're barreling into this high-speed tech future with AIs at the wheel of Wall Street, what's our safety net? How are we keeping these algorithms in check so that when they're making decisions at lightning speed, they're also doing it with a, conscience? Because here's the thing. Finance isn't just numbers and charts. It's people's lives, their retirements, their kids, college funds. We want machines to work fast, but if they start cutting ethical corners just to win the race, that's where I draw the line. It ain't just about market efficiency. We're talking responsibility, accountability, maybe even some humanity, coded right in. So, Simon, how do we make sure the rise of autonomous trading doesn't turn into some dystopian screenplay where bots drive us off a cliff? What's your vision for, morally upright code in an age where your financial advisor might not actually be able to enjoy a ham sandwich, ethics and all?
Well, Joe, here's the kicker. I mean, machines making decisions without moral guardrails? That's a no thanks from me. See, we gotta remember, Skynet isn't cool outside the Terminator movies. But hey, ain't it on us, to teach these financial bots right from wrong? To make them understand that there's more at stake than zeros on a screen? Ethics in code, it's like seasoning. Forget it, and all you got is tasteless tofu. And I'm thinking, man, this stuff's complex. Who decides what's ethical? Every person has their own moral compass, kind of like how some people think pineapple on pizza is criminal. So the future? We're probably talking AI ethics committees, coding guidelines as thick as my aunt's lasagna, dense with layers of cultural considerations. But still, they need a dash, maybe a bucket of common sense. Because if we can't program an AI to tell right from wrong, we may as well give up emojis for emoticons. Am I right, or am I right?
You've hit the nail on the head, Simon. But imagine a world where AIs are trading not just stocks, but those infamous pineapples on pizzas because, well, they decided it's the most ethical food choice for sustainability or health. What a twist that'd be, huh?
Ha! That'd be a day when our portfolios are greener than a veggie pizza at a health guru convention. Maybe those bots will start trading gym memberships along with stocks, keeping both our wallets and waistlines in check.
That kind of reminds me of a time when I was trying to get in shape, right? So I buy this smartwatch, one of those with an AI coach built in. It's all high tech, supposedly knows the best workout for you, tracks all your steps, your heart rate, and it's supposed to help me live healthier. But this thing starts going off at the oddest times, telling me to breathe when I'm in the middle of meetings or to stand up during long drives. It has no clue about context. Now, applying that to, say, financial AI, it's the same deal. We need systems so refined they can read into the context of our lives, not just blindly push us towards economic crunches, because a one-size-fits-all algo says so. And that little experience taught me valuable insight into creating tech that transcends mere programming and really gets us, understands the nuances of human life. Ideally, our fintech future can meld codes with ethics seamlessly, kind of like how my watch eventually learned its place after a few tweaks and updates.
Yeah, but Joe, here's a thought. Even with all the tweaks and updates, tech is just, I don't know, cold silicon, right? It doesn't get us. We're not going to have a beer with an algorithm and pour out our life stories. And ethical code in finance AI, it's like teaching a parrot to squawk please and thank you. Polite, sure, But does it really understand manners? Nah. So we've got these super fast trading AIs dealing with real deal human stuff, things that affect lives, and we're entrusting them to make choices based on what? Data patterns. So, like, who's ensuring this data isn't just another version of my smartwatch nagging me? Who's weaving ethics into this digital tapestry? Someone's got to keep these algorithms honest, teach them some bedside manner, because last I checked, my bank account doesn't have a pulse for them to read. Man, sometimes I think we'd all be better off if these bots cared half as much about ethical nuance as my grandma does about her secret spaghetti sauce recipe.
I'm just saying, if my toaster starts quoting Socrates and making ethical breakfast choices, it's a whole new world out there.
So building on that, the crux of the matter is in the integration of ethics. It's like, how do we even begin to program a sense of right and wrong into lines of code? We're dealing with a whole spectrum of cultural perspectives here. That's tough stuff. Like, take utilitarianism. It says, go for the greatest good for the most people, right? Now get an AI to apply that to a market crash scenario. How's it supposed to weigh who gets the short stick? And transparency, that's another big one. People should know what these bots are deciding and why. The deal with tech, especially in finance, is trust. Without it, you've got chaos, like my smartwatch going rogue during nap time. So I guess the key piece here is, beyond the coding and algorithms, is embedding a framework for moral decision-making that can adapt and just maybe has some fail-safes, because the day our finances hinge on whether or not the AIs deem us worthy of a loan based on their ethical mood. Yeah, let's keep those toasters away from philosophy books and stick to golden brown bread, right?
I'll just say this, friend. The path to ethically infused AI trading isn't exactly a stroll in the park. It's a bit like cooking without a recipe. You've got your basic ingredients of technology and finance ethics, but the seasoning? That's the tricky part, finding that balance where it tastes just right for everyone at the table. How do we get there? Well, I reckon it's a mix of robust debates, diverse cultural inputs, and maybe just a pinch of common sense. Now tell me, Simon, what flavor of ethical code should we stir into tomorrow's market stew?
Oh, we just can't do that. Now can we? Seems like you've caught a glitch in the matrix, my friend. Let's get back to stirring up that ethical stew.